So when you start reading this chapter of structure of atom, they will talk something about wave nature, they'll talk about particle nature, they will talk about photoelectric effect, they will talk something about the dual nature of light, and all these things they start to talk about when they talk
Mm-hmm.
about structure of atom.
Okay.
Now this is something which a class 10 student who is going into class 11 student is completely unaware of. He doesn't
Hmm.
understand कि भाई ये बात क्या चल रही है.
Hmm.
Are you getting my point?
Yeah.
Plus, of course, when you come to, if you try to read the first few chapters of physics also,
Hmm.
अगर आप फिजिक्स में भी आते हैं तो फिजिक्स में भी फिजिक्स क्लास 11 they'll suddenly start talking about dy by dx. They'll start talking about in terms of sine, say 320 degrees, and this happens in the first chapter in physics class 11th is units and measurement. The second is motion.
Hmm.
Now a student, unless and until he comes from the international background, the international board, the IGCSE board, they do discuss, a bit of advanced trigonometry and bit of calculus, differentiation and integration in class 10th.
Okay.
But the CBSE and ICSE board, they are completely unaware of any amount of, calculus in class 10th. So the difficulty
Hmm.
that a class 10 student who is going to class 11, he will face a lot of difficulty both in chemistry as well as in physics.
Yeah.
So chemistry first chapter structure of atom, he will get confused or he or she will get confused about what यार ये क्या बात कर रहे हैं? What is this wave nature? What is this particle nature? What is the photoelectric effect? What is this dual nature? What is this
Mm-hmm.
wave nature? All these things sort of will confuse students.
Hmm.
And when they open the physics book and they start reading the class 11th motion chapter, they will be very confused about things like calculus, they will be very confused about things like area under the graph, about the integration, etc., and the kind of trigonometry which is being talked about. Have you understood my point?
Yeah.
So that is why, part of our, actually, mostly what we are focusing right now for the physics part is that we are trying to improve our mathematical tools for so that we can tackle physics.
Okay.
But in chemistry, one of the things that you need to understand is our main aim in structure of atom is to understand how this electronic configuration is written in terms of something called SPD, SPDF orbitals, something like this.
Okay.
So they'll talk about something 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, and this is the kind of configuration that we'll have to learn.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
because we are talking about all this, for a class 10 student, all this nonsense about wave nature, particle nature, photoelectric effect. So
Hmm.
he or she, they get very confused about कि भाई चल क्या रहा है? I'm not able to understand anything.
Hmm.
And what I wanted to tell you was that, see, this is what is happening. So in class 11 physics, these are the end chapters
Hmm.
where they will talk something about waves and SHM.
Okay.
So end of class 11th physics syllabus.
Hmm.
I'll repeat. End of class
Hmm.
11 physics. You will get the first understanding about what are waves and what is a simple harmonic motion.
Okay.
And when you go to class 12th in semester 2, and again, because the first semester in class 12th, first part of the class 12th, they'll be talking about magnetism, they'll be talking about electricity and magnetism. So in the second semester, in the second half of class 12th, they will start talking about something about light, Then they will go into the details of light. They will talk about something called a Young's double slit experiment. Then they will talk about dual nature of radiation, dual nature of matter. They'll talk about the structure of atom. They'll talk about the structure of nuclei. This is
Hmm.
part of modern physics and this is part of class 12th physics part 2.
Okay.
Have you understood what I've said?
Yeah.
Okay. So now the point is, how do we tackle this? How we tackle this is that when we are doing chemistry and when we are reading the structure of atom, whatever is written, whatever they talk about, wave nature, particle nature, Young's double slit experiment, whatever nonsense that they are throwing at us,
Hmm.
we don't get scared. If we don't understand, we cram it. It is as simple as that. Have you
Okay.
understood my point?
Yeah.
Because we know that it is only by the end of class 11th and in the second semester of class 12th that we will fully grasp what they are talking about in the first chapter of chemistry where they are talking about the structure of atom. Have I made
Hmm.
my point clear?
Yeah.
And structure of atom is a vast subject. You know,
Hmm.
it is part of something called quantum mechanics. It is taught in detail when you study in graduation, in post graduation. So it's a pretty advanced subject. So if you are confused about what they are trying to tell you in structure of atom, you should have patience. And
Okay.
in very crude terms, what I'm trying to tell you is whatever you don't understand, just cram it.
Okay.
And have the comfort and have the patience that by
Hmm.
the time you have finished class 11th and 12th subject
Hmm.
syllabus, you'll understand the by story here. At least you will get a glimpse of what is happening.
Hmm.
फुल अंडरस्टैंडिंग तो फिर से आप ग्रेजुएशन पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन में जाएंगे तब जाके आपको समझ आएगा बट एटलीस्ट यू विल अंडरस्टैंड कि भाई सो बेसिकली व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल यू इज इट इज ओनली वंस यू हैव कंप्लीटेड this whole cycle. It is
Yeah.
only when you have completed this whole cycle of from beginning from class 11th to end of class 12. So, for example, you are appearing for NEET. Now, when you are appearing for NEET, of course, you will have to go through 11th and 12th syllabus, whole of the 11th and 12th syllabus.
Hmm.
So, say, let us take a very, optimistic scenario that by December next year,
Hmm.
this is 2022, December 2023, your physics and chemistry syllabus is over.
Hmm.
Yeah, let us take a very optimistic point of view. Now,
Yeah.
in December 2023, when you are December 2023 and you have
Hmm.
finished your physics syllabus, then you will understand कि वो केमिस्ट्री का जो चैप्टर था स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एटम
Hmm.
में वो बोल क्या रहे थे. Have you got my point?
Yeah.
So more than half of the time you will be very confused about what they are talking about, especially when you start your 11th class chemistry syllabus. Have you understood?
Hmm.
And what we need to be very very focused about is कि मुझे बाकी कुछ समझ आए ना आए but I should be very clear about how to write the electronic configuration of any element using this format. We'll discuss this format, don't worry. But I
Okay.
just want to, just want to tell you that this is how this looks like. Actually, show you. I'll show you how this configuration is written. I'll just show you a table. Just give me a second.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Can you see this? Can you see the image?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to show you the glimpse. Please don't get, again, please don't get scared looking at this. So,
Yeah.
so for example, this carbon is being written as 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, in a way, it is the same as what we used to write 2 4 in class 10th.
Hmm.
You know what we talk in class 10th, we used to talk about orbit. Now they'll be talking about orbital. And how did they reach this orbital story? They will be telling you lot of gyan, ye hua, wo hua. Mr.
Hmm.
Bohr, Mr. Bohr had a model. Then Mr. Can you see the Can you see the whiteboard now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, one second. One second. So they'll be talking about lot of scientists. Mr. Bohr had come. They'll tell you some story about Mr. Broglie. They'll tell you some story about Mr. Heisenberg.
Hmm.
They'll tell you a lot of stories about Mr. Schrodinger. You know, frankly, most of this would seem all utter nonsense to you. And it is absolutely okay.
Hmm.
It is absolutely okay. Don't get worried.
Hmm.
Because it won't make sense to you unless and until you know this part of your physics, where they will, deep dive deep dive into the concepts of waves. They'll deep dive into the concepts of SHM. They'll take you,
Hmm.
you know, deep diving into the concepts of the wave nature of light, which they will, in detail, they'll discuss in the semester 2 of class 12th, light chapter in
Hmm.
physics. And
Hmm.
then discuss in detail in dual nature, in atom, in nuclei. These are three separate chapters in class 12th physics.
Hmm.
Have you understood my point?
Yeah.
So don't get, bogged down by the kind of concept that your teachers and the textbook would be throwing at you when you meet the structure of atom. Please do not get, bogged down by it. And
Hmm. Okay.
especially in what I've seen in YouTube, also is that, all kind of people, all kind of, professors and YouTubers out there, have all kind of, these bizarre lectures which you shouldn't be much worried about.
Hmm.
Because end of the day, if you are able to understand this very simple concept of how the electronic configuration is written, more than enough, our job is done. It is as
Hmm.
simple as that. बिकॉज उसके बाद केमिस्ट्री का ये आपका जब ये हो जाएगा,
Hmm.
आई जस्ट वांटेड टू टेल यू हाउ द केमिस्ट्री कोर्स लुक्स लाइक.
Hmm.
हाउ द केमिस्ट्री कोर्स लुक लाइक. तो आपका स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एटम चलेगा. उसके बाद दे विल टॉक अबाउट द periodic classification. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then, one second, I'll just bring the book and, just
Yeah.
tell you how the format looks like. So, this is how the your syllabus looks like. So, first chapter is about, I think the first chapter is about stoichiometry. And after stoichiometry, I don't remember the spelling here. So, it is stoichiometry. Yeah. The stoichiometry is still okay. After that, these two chapters, structure of atom and chemical bonding. Now, this is something where you will face lot of confusion. And what I'm suggesting is that please do not spend more than time necessary in these two chapters. When you don't understand a concept, just scrap it. Periodic classification is still simple.
Hmm.
Have you got my point?
Yeah.
Because usually what I've seen is what happens is because all these concepts are very alien. We haven't, read about, studied about all these concepts ever in class 10th, if we are
Yeah.
an average student. Unless and
Hmm.
until we have gone to those, foundation AET, IIT foundation or NEET foundation colleges that, the students usually start going in class 9th and 10th. And average student is, not very much okay with the advanced concepts in physics. So that is
Hmm.
why I'm suggesting again and again that whenever you are reading these, especially these two chapters, structure of atom and chemical bonding, if you get confused about any topic,
Hmm.
either skip it, which is a bit dicey,
Hmm.
or the better option is just cram it. Whatever it is written, just cram it.
Yeah.
Because the understanding will come over 2 years. It won't happen in next 2 months. Have you got my
Hmm.
point?
Yeah.
And that is why I'm forewarning that there are times when what student do is कि ये chemistry के शुरू में ही जब ऐसे chapters आए and they are not able to understand them, they think that chemistry तो यार हमें समझ नहीं आएगी. Let's leave chemistry.
Hmm.
Have you got my point?
Yeah.
Because see, what will happen is after you cross these three
Hmm.
chapters,
Hmm.
ये वाले 3 chapters अगर आपने एक बार क्रॉस कर दी, देखिए periodic classification is a simple chapter. It is not
Hmm.
very tough chapter.
Hmm.
But I usually see student suffering is in structure of atom and chemical bonding. यहाँ पर सबसे ज़्यादा पेन आ जाता है, ठीक है? But the point is, once we are able to cross this, उसके बाद के जो chapters हैं, they are pretty, relaxed chapters. States of matter simple है, thermodynamics भी simple है, equilibrium simple है, redox reaction simple है. These,
Hmm.
you know, these four chapters are part of what is called a physical chemistry. Physical chemistry. You can note down physical chemistry. So these are pretty simple. जिसका भी maths थोड़ा सा भी simple है, तो इसमें there are no exceptions as such. Mm, they are very logical. उसमें कोई ऐसे exceptions नहीं है, कोई इतना जबरदस्त deep knowledge of chemistry is not required. Any person, any average student from class 9, 10th can easily go for states of matter, thermodynamics, equilibrium, redox reaction. As a
Hmm.
matter of fact, what I personally believe is that these four chapters should be there in the beginning of class 11th rather than, giving structure of atom and chemical bonding. But of course,
Hmm.
there are more learned people than me who have taken this decision. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is what would be constituting the semester
Yeah.
one of class 11th chemistry.
Hmm.
When you come to semester two, when I say semester two, it is part two. So
Hmm.
when you come to the semester two, you will have this, which is called inorganic chemistry. Inorganic chemistry. You will have a chapter on hydrogen. You will have a chapter on S block. You will have a chapter on P block. Now, when you go to your school and when you meet your friends, you'll hear all this BS about अरे inorganic तो समझ नहीं आती, inorganic समझ नहीं आती. Now you need to be very careful. ICSE students do not face any difficulty in inorganic for a simple reason that they have done 4 chapters of inorganic. Do you remember that 4 chapters of HCl,
Yes.
H2SO4, NO3?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
How painful those 4 chapters were? What was that?
Yeah.
Chemistry. Chemistry. Now, because ICSE students have know what cramming in chemistry is, they have done this in inorganic class
Hmm.
10th. So that is why CBSE students don't do that. And
Hmm.
that is why the howling is usually from the CBSE students. Have you understood my point?
Yeah.
So please do not listen to them. Usually ICCA students don't face any difficulty in cramming this part of the chemistry. 3 chapters would be there: hydrogen, S block and P block. And most of these things you would have already done in class 10th. Have you understood my point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the point that I'm trying to make is that if we make a list of all the easy chapters, they are so easy that they can be done in class 10th also.
Hmm.
So the list of these chapters would be states of matter,
Hmm.
thermodynamics,
Hmm.
equilibrium, redox reaction, uh, hydrogen, S block, P block. Now there's a bit of difficulty So, for
Hmm.
example, in inorganic, one part would be, the chemical reactions, etc. They just have to be cracked.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
then this hydrogen S block P block would have linkages from the structure of atom and chemical bonding also. They would have some linkages because they'll be talking about the structure of compounds, the 3D shapes of the molecules, etc. So they would have few linkages with the structure of atom and chemical bonding also. And I've
Hmm.
already told you that in structure of atom and chemical bonding, whatever you do not understand, please crack.
Hmm.
Have you understood my point?
Yeah.
Now, once you have crossed this hydrogen, the inorganic part, then you will meet the organic part. In organic, there are two chapters. One is introduction to organic chemistry, and other is basic alkenes, alkenes, alkyne that you had done in class 10th. Remember,
Hmm.
organic. It is almost of the same standard that you already have done in ICSE class 10th, last chapter of organic chemistry, carbon
Yeah.
chapter. Carbon
Yeah.
chapter. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And the last chapter would be environment chemistry.
Hmm.
Now, again, environmental chemistry is an easy chapter. You know, in your exam, in your school exam, or maybe in competitive exams, they'll be asking you one or two number from environment chemistry. The
Okay.
point that I'm trying to make is why do you want to shed your blood on chemical bonding and why not on environment chemistry? So for let us assume that there are 4 marks from this chapter and there are 3 marks from this chapter. Have you
Hmm.
understood my point?
Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of effort that you will have to spend to get 4 marks from chemical bonding
Hmm.
would be 10 times more than what you will be spending for getting 3 marks in environmental chemistry. Have you got my point?
Yeah.
So, you know why I wanted to spend this time just to explain to you how you need to manage class 11th chemistry.
Hmm.
Because I have seen a lot of students who just don't want to study 11th and 12th chemistry कि भाई हमें तो समझ ही नहीं आता. Are you getting
Hmm.
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
अब उसमें भी ऐसा नहीं है कि दे आर स्टूपिड. अभी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? यू हैव स्टार्टेड योर जर्नी.
Hmm.
You know, you have started your journey like this, that you are here.
Hmm.
When you start your journey, you fall into this pond,
Hmm.
and then you walk for a bit, and then there is this tall mountain that you have to cross. You know, so maybe
Hmm.
by the time you are here, you will leave the journey. You will think that the rest of the journey is very difficult. But the point
Hmm.
that I'm trying to make is that that is not the case. After that, the journey is pretty smooth. Have you understood what I've said?
Yeah.
So you can consider this to be structure of atom,
Hmm.
and this to be chemical bonding. After that, journey is pretty smooth. This is the story about chemistry class 11th. Have you understood?
Yeah.
Now, why I wanted to give all this gyan was that, I'll be sending you the PDF of structure of atom so that you can study.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of things that you won't understand.
Hmm.
You know, again and again and again, I'm trying to tell you is whatever you don't understand, please skip it at that time. Do not stop.
Okay.
Give it a second reading, give it a third reading with a fair amount of understanding that it is only in the coming 2 years that you will fully understand what is being talked about. Have you understood my point?
Yeah. Yeah.
So please be patient and don't think that अच्छा एक और चीज वो मार्केट में जो बहुत ज्यादा चलती है वो ये है कि अरे एक्सेप्शंस बहुत हैं, हर चीज का एक्सेप्शन है, हर चीज का एक्सेप्शन है.
Hmm.
That way things are very simple in chemistry. And I'll tell you why chemistry becomes very simple and why do people say that chemistry is very scoring. The best thing about chemistry is that there are only limited number of questions that you can make in chemistry. Have you understood?
Hmm.
So let us assume that there are 1500 chemistry questions. So for example, you open, okay, let me talk about JEE. So for example, in JEE, class 11th chemistry, you know, 80
Hmm.
to 85%, 80 to 85% of the chemistry syllabus would have already been there in the last 10 years of JEE papers. Have you understood my point or not?
Hmm.
क्योंकि आप कोई नया क्वेश्चन बना नहीं सकते. But that is not the case when you are talking about physics and maths. Have you understood my point?
Yeah.
The same thing will happen in biology also. Have you understood my point?
Yeah.
In biology also, there will be set of questions that can be asked. जो लास्ट 10 साल में 15 साल में if you have gone through the last previous year question papers, subjects like chemistry and biology have very limited scope. तो अगर आपने लास्ट 10 साल के क्वेश्चंस ठीक तरह कर लिए हैं कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स के या बोर्ड के, तो नए तरह के क्वेश्चंस बनाने बहुत मुश्किल है. आप समझ रहे हैं?
Hmm.
बट दैट इज नॉट द केस इन फिजिक्स एंड मैथ्स. Physics and maths, that is why become tougher to score, because here lot of new questions can be made. Have you got my point?
Yeah.
So the point is, अभी तो आप सेलम बैठे हैं, but once you come back, you start talking to your friends, they'll start talking about all the nonsense. अरे केमिस्ट्री मुश्किल है, इनऑर्गेनिक है, एक्सेप्शंस हैं, फलाना है, ढमकाना है. बट you have to understand the context in which chemistry has to be studied. Have I made my point clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.